Last season, it appeared at times that the Cowboys were primed to put an end to their nearly 3 decades-long Super Bowl drought. However, after a strong showing in the regular season, their year ended prematurely, as always, in the wild card round in very disappointing fashion. Sadly for Cowgirl fans, 2024 is looking even bleaker for the team, and we believe that they have no shot of winning the Super Bowl in 2024. Go figure. Today, we're going to take a look back at their 23 campaign and who they picked up and lost over the offseason on both sides of the ball to explain why Dallas will never win another Super Bowl ever again. First up on the block, let's take a recap of the 2023 season. The Cowboys kicked off their season with a strong 4-2 record heading into the bye week in Week 7. This was a relatively easy stretch of their schedule, with their only matchup against a team who went on to make the playoffs, and that being the San Francisco 49ers, who they were defeated by with a final score of 42-10. Despite Dallas's quality of opponents being much higher following their bye week, they closed out the regular season on an 8-3 run, and over the stretch, they took down tougher opponents in the Philadelphia Eagles and Detroit Lions. Quarterback Dak Prescott was playing some of the best football of his career in 2023, finishing the season with 4,516 yards, 36 touchdowns, and only 9 interceptions. Prescott went on to lead the league in passing touchdowns and also finished first in completions with 410. It appeared that, for a time, that he was well on his way to taking home the MVP award. However, a late season surge from the Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson had caused Dak to finish in second. Despite this, though, he was still named as a Pro Bowler and made the All-Pro second team. With the Cowboys finishing the regular season with a 12-5 record and Prescott playing such a high level, many believe that they were capable of making some noise in the postseason. However, they fell short of expectations and were upset and sent home in the wild card round by a young Green Bay Packers team by a final score of 48-32. A common theme for Dallas throughout their 23 campaign was winning easy games against inferior opponents, but struggling to keep up when taking on other playoff caliber teams. With this loss to the Packers, Prescott's playoff record has fallen to a measly 2-5, and while he is without a doubt a top 10 player at the position, he's failed time and time again to show up whenever the lights are brightest, throwing 2 interceptions in the Cowboys matchup against Green Bay. On the offensive side of the ball, Dallas has one of the best passing games in the entire league. They did finish the season ranked 3rd in passing yards and 1st in passing touchdowns. With Prescott playing at such a high level, paired with a very strong receiving core headed by CeeDee Lamb, Dallas's offense will likely continue to live and die by the pass in 2024. On the ground, the Cowboys were a very middle-of-the-road team in 2023 because heading into the season, many had believed that this would be a very strong facet of Dallas's offense, with Tony Pollard taking over as the team's head running back, and while he did have a solid year on the ground, the Cowboys went from being ranked 9th in rushing yards and 2nd in rushing touchdowns in 2022 to 14th in yards and 15th in touchdowns last year. On the defensive side of the ball, they did an incredible job stopping the pass, ranking 5th in fewest passing yards allowed and 10th in passing touchdowns allowed. Doing all this without star cornerback Trevon Diggs is very impressive, and with him set to make a return in 2024, Dallas could be a no-fly zone this coming season. Cornerback Deron Bland broke out in Diggs' absence in only his 2nd season in the league. Bland finished in the year with 9 interceptions for 209 yards and 5 pick sixes, leading the league in all 3 metrics. If Diggs does return with his torn ACL still playing at an elite level, he and Bland could very well be the most feared duo in the cornerback position for years to come. However, similar to their offense, Dallas was very mediocre defensively against the run, ending the year ranked 16th in rushing yards allowed, plus 11th in rushing touchdowns allowed. So how did Dallas do in the offseason with offensive acquisitions? Well, Dallas had a relatively quiet offseason when it came to offensive acquisitions. Arguably, their biggest signing on the offensive side of the ball came with the 1-year, $3 million deal given to Ezekiel Elliott. It's clear that the Cowboys front desk felt that it was very much a big mistake in letting him walk in free agency last season and going with Tony Pollard as their starting running back. With Elliott back in Dallas, he could be having a career-reviving year after he spent most of the 23 season backing up Ramondre Stevenson of the New England Patriots. The remainder of their efforts to improve the offense this offseason came through filling holes in the offensive line. They used their first-round pick in offensive tackle Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma, and in the second round, they selected versatile offensive lineman Cooper Bebe from Kansas State, who was able to play both offensive guard and center. With the losses to the O-line that the Cowboys suffered this offseason, having a player like Bebe who can almost always be anywhere is exactly what they need. So, what about defensive acquisitions then? The Cowboys' biggest pickup on defense came from the signing of Eric Kendricks. The linebacker position was arguably Dallas's biggest position need coming into the 24 season. Last year, they were forced to move safety Marquise Bell to linebacker after a neck injury to Leighton Vander Esch. Kendricks will make an immediate impact to the linebacking core as an established veteran who has remained playing at a consistent level despite transitioning into his mid-30s. Throughout the draft, Dallas was able to add a skilled defensive end Marshawn Nealon from Western Michigan in the second round, and later on in the third round, they added another piece to the linebacker room in Maurice Lufau from Notre Dame, who could very well end up being a Week 1 starter. Now on to the flip side of the coin with the offseason departures. The Cowboys' shockingly quiet offseason is a concerning sign for the Super Bowl hopes in 2024 whenever taking into account all of the impact players they lost. You got 8-time Pro Bowler Tyron Smith, who had been with Dallas since 2011 and left in free agency to join the New York Jets. During his time with the Cowboys, Smith was a key part of what was the best offensive line in the league at the time, and he is a surefire Hall of Famer once his time in the league comes to an end. Along with Smith, you also got center Tyler Biadasz, who was lost in free agency, signing with the Washington Commanders. Arguably the biggest departure, though, was running back Tony Pollard, who joined the Tennessee Titans, and while Pollard did not elevate Dallas to having an elite rushing attack by any means, what he brought to the table in passing game will definitely be a huge loss for Dallas next season. On the defensive side of the ball, the Cowboys line took a massive hit, losing Dante Fowler to the Commanders and Jonathan Hankins to the Seahawks. While the Cowboys were able to add to the depth in their linebacker room, following a potential career-ending neck injury, the team was forced to cut former Pro Bowler Leighton Vander Esch. So, the real question is, why won't the Dallas Cowboys be going to the 2024 Super Bowl? Last season, the Cowboys proved time and time again that they don't have what it takes to consistently take down playoff caliber teams. This, paired with their roster, has arguably been getting weaker and weaker after rougher off seasons, where there's almost no chance that they'll end up going on to win the Super Bowl in 2024. Losing 2 starters on the offensive line could very easily lead to Prescott's numbers through the air greatly regressing from last season due to worse pass protection. Along with this, if the O-line doesn't mesh well quickly, Dallas could easily have one of the worst rushing attacks in the league. As he has continued to age, Ezekiel Elliott has begun to regress quickly. While he did have a solid season in 2023 with the Patriots, this was more like a backup. Taking on the wear and tear of a full season as a starter behind a shoddy offensive line could be a recipe for disaster. And while the Cowboys should continue to have one of the strongest passing defenses in the league in 2024, there's a lot of questions about their ability to stop the run coming into the next year. While they've beefed up their linebacker room, their losses on the defensive line may lead them to greatly struggling against the run. So, all these factors coming together make it almost impossible to believe that Dallas has a real shot of taking home the Lombardi Trophy in 2024.